The wildfire burning along the New York-New Jersey border has burned 5,000 acres.
We are actively engaging the fire, and right now all our tactics seem to be holding the line here in New Jersey.
Incident Commander Christopher Franick says it's a pretty remote area, hard to get to.
Pretty much they're hiking their way in, and there's really no easy access. They're carrying all their equipment, tools, no real bulldozers.
Containment of the blaze put at just 30%. A 5-year-old boy went missing in rural Oregon. The effort to find him is expanding.
Joshua McCoy has autism and went missing on November 9th. Except for some inconclusive pieces of evidence found by search and rescue teams on Monday, there have been no signs of him. Coos County, Oregon investigators say his mother reports she and Joshua took a nap around 1 in the afternoon on the 9th, and when she woke up, he was gone. Search and rescue teams from Oregon and California are now looking for him with 61 searchers. They say he could answer to Josh or Joshy, but he may not answer them at all. Alex Stone, ABC News.
In England, there are now more deer than at any other time in the last 1,000 years. The population really took off during the pandemic, and it has had a devastating impact on woodlands and farms in England. Forestry experts and businesses say one solution is getting people to eat more venison. Low-fat, sustainable protein. I'm Richard Cantu, ABC News.
Hi, I'm Angie Hicks, co-founder of Angie. And one thing I've learned is that you buy a house, but you make it a home. Because with every fix, update, and renovation, it becomes a little more your own. So you need all your jobs done well. For nearly 30 years, Angie has helped millions of homeowners hire skilled pros for the projects that matter. From plumbing to electrical, roof repair to deck upgrades. So leave it to the pros who will get your jobs done well. Hire high-quality certified pros at Angie.com.
News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
I'm Bill Walter, KVNU News. News is brought to you by Dr. Keith Nelson. In the early 1900s, a process was developed to convert atmospheric nitrogen to a form that allowed for the industrial scale production of fertilizer, which led to a large increase in global food production. Related to that work, Utah State University biochemist Lance Seefelt says food productivity is dependent on the availability of fertilizer, but the nitrogen needed cannot be taken in from the air. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is funding a project to re-engineer the biology of cereal crops to achieve nitrogen fixation on their own from sunlight without applying fertilizer. Since 2019, Seefelt and USU senior scientist Ji Young Yang have collaborated on that project. Findings from the research published earlier this month report a pathway which involves a newly known minimum of 7 genes that allow the plant cell to make the enzyme that can convert into gas from the air to fertilizer. Young said the goal is to place genes into the crop's mitochondria, enabling them to generate sufficient energy to drive nitrogen fixation. Seefelt said the possibility of freeing cereal crops from the need for added fertilizer is significant. A Payson junior high school student was taken into custody after being found with a firearm on campus. The school's resource officer and administration found the student within minutes of the report, according to Principal Kevin Meekum. The firearm was secured. While Meekum said these types of incidents are concerning, there was no longer a threat posed to students or staff. He explained that the safety and well-being of their students and staff remain their highest priority. The school is working closely with local law enforcement to ensure the continued safety of their school community. He added a big thank you to their students for seeing something and saying something, and the investigation into the incident remains ongoing. Have you ever wondered where your favorite stores in the Cache Valley Mall relocated to? It's been 5 months since the Cache Valley Mall was demolished and some stores closed while others relocated. Recently, Maurice's, Fun Unlimited, Alvy's Chocolates, and Spencer's Gifts reopened along Main Street in North Logan. You can check out our updated map at cachevalleydaily.com to find where more than a dozen stores have relocated to. KBNU weather brought to you by Cardall's Insulation. If you have an older home, you might consider updating your insulation. Today's insulation is much better than what you find in older homes. For a warmer, quieter home this winter, call 755-5012. Partly cloudy tonight and overnight, low in the low 20s, and then mostly sunny, looking at mid-40s tomorrow. Mostly sunny into the low 50s on Thursday. Get more news at CashValleyDaily.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Keith Nelson, board-certified, fellowship-trained orthopedic surgeon, and I want to restore your active, pain-free life. I've been an innovator in the treatment of knee pain caused by arthritis and sports injuries for 27 years. I'm the only surgeon in northern Utah to offer Omnibotics, a robotic-assisted knee replacement for your arthritic knee, which has a 97% patient satisfaction rate. Don't live with your knee pain another day. Visit drkeithnelsonortho.com. That's drkeithnelsonortho.com.
Dr. Nelson accepts most insurances, including select health plans.
As our world changes, we'll keep you up to date. News Talk KVNU, 102 FM, 610 AM. Also on the new KVNU mobile app.
Come celebrate a white Christmas with Anderson Seed and Garden. They are potentially giving away $40,000 in merchandise to the first 50 people who spend $500 or more on holiday and Christmas decor between now and November 23rd. If it snows at least 4 inches on Christmas Day and you made a qualifying purchase, your purchase is free. But you only have until November 23rd to qualify. Only at Anderson Seed and Garden, Logan. See store for official rules.
The Aggies return home to continue conference play Saturday afternoon as they host the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors.
All I care about is these kids' effort. I mean, it's been unbelievable. No one plays hard when you're 2-7, and these guys are freaking fighting to the end, so it's so fun to see.
Pre-game begins at 11. Kickoff is at 1. And post-game and Aggie Call immediately follows the game. It's the Aggies and the Rainbow Warriors. Saturday afternoon on News Talk KVNU. The Heritage Home for the Aggies.
Busted flat in Baton Rouge, waiting for a train, and us feeling near as faded as my jeans.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People.
Bobby thumbed a diesel
It is time for this month's For the People Book Club with our good friend Craig Petersen joining us here in the studio, and I'm so excited about this one today because this is a fascinating topic all around. But we're going to be talking about, under the umbrella of Alex Trebek's memoir, which was published just a few months before his death in 2020, titled The Answer Is, that's the title of his book, The Answer Is, Reflections on My Life. But we're also going to be talking about Jeopardy at large, how this game show became this cultural phenomenon. Everyone knows it. Even people who have never watched an episode know the format. They know to ask. The answer is phrased as a question. They know some of the inside jokes. I mean, this has pervaded every aspect of our society for multiple generations. And it's really, if you think about it, this very simple game show. They don't even have fancy. I don't know if you remember it was, but when I set this up in hour one, Craig, I was trying to remember the name of the game show, and I forgot to look it up during the break, but they had whammies. This wheel would spin. It was very Las Vegas-like. Yeah. Graphics on the screen. And Jeopardy has none of that. Yeah. It's just
it's a knowledge show.
Yeah.
It really is. It's not a gimmick show.
Oh, it's fascinating to me. But
I've been, my wife and I, we tape it, and we watch it Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
In fact, it takes about 23 minutes if you skip through the commercials. I can tell you exactly what happens. We're going to go for about 7 minutes, and then they're going to take a commercial break. Then they're going to come back and talk to the contestants. They're going to come back for another 7 minutes, another commercial break, and then do Double Jeopardy and the Final Jeopardy, and we're done.
That's it. But I mean, it is really, you say it's a knowledge show. You do leave the episode smarter. You've learned at least one thing, if not multiple things. But it's a fun challenge. The one that gets me frustrated is when I know the answer, but it's just right there. Yeah. And I could even maybe say where and when I learned the answer to that. And then the contestants will beat me to it. And and I don't know if you've had this experience. If a contestant, that is having a particular bad day in their answers, and you want to shout at the TV, "No, you idiot!"
I've done that many times. Yeah, some things seem so obvious, and they just miss them. Yeah,
that is like what is the color of a pencil, Alex? Well, they get it wrong.
We'll talk a little bit later on about the all-time records on Jeopardy. But here's a trivia question. So the all-time negative outcome of a Jeopardy game. So sometimes people go in the red.
Oh, sure.
And the all-time record is minus $7,000.
Really? Wow.
Wouldn't that be great to be the guy that made that? Sometimes I'll sit and watch the show and I think, I'd like to go on Jeopardy. And then I think, but what if I embarrassed my family?
That's what I worry about. But yeah, because I worry that may be one of those situations where I don't perform well under pressure, and then my family has to pretend they don't know me. And that's funny. So negative 7,000.
Yeah.
What a record to hold. That is. So the book, this was obviously, published in conjunction with his illness and his. Yeah. He talked very openly. I don't remember how long before he died, but he talked very openly about.
A couple of years he was diagnosed. He had pancreatic cancer, is what he died.
Yeah.
And he survived a year when the survival rate was about 18%.
Wow.
So he did. Nobody escapes pancreatic cancer. But
yeah.
He did a little bit better than the average person.
That is, and he kept hosting as long as he could. Yeah. Because I believe he made the announcement on Jeopardy, didn't he?
I think so.
Yeah. So yeah, this was, his death itself was a cultural moment. And the book, I looked into this. I mentioned I own a copy. I'd never actually read it, but I looked into sales. This was a huge bestseller when it was published, understandably, because of the timing and more. But this isn't just the story of Jeopardy. He's telling this is a memoir. He's telling his life story here and his work as a philanthropist, as a parent, right. Things like that. What did you think of the book?
Well, the book got a 4.8 out of 5 from 12,000 readers, but I think there's kind of a selection bias there. The people who picked it up were people who were Jeopardy fans. I want to do this to talk about Jeopardy. I found the book disappointing. I wouldn't recommend people run out and buy it.
Really?
His life wasn't incredibly exciting, and the book didn't talk as much about the behind the scenes of Jeopardy as I would have liked. If there had been more about what happens and some of the experiences and so forth. He spends a lot of time. He actually was born in Canada in a bilingual family and grew up in a kind of a lower middle class family. At one point he goes to a military school, gets there the first day, and they tell him he has to cut his hair off, and so he leaves.
Really?
And then,
how funny.
after a number of years, he was probably in his mid-20s, moved to the United States.
Boy, I never would have taken him as a rebel.
Yeah, he actually was. In fact, one of the things he says in the book is, "You'd be surprised how much I swear." But anyway, he comes to the United States, and he's done some radio and television in Canada, some sports stuff, and ends up getting a couple little gigs as a game show host. And then Jeopardy had been kind of off and on from 1964 to 1984. It had been on network television, and there'd been another host, and at one point the other host gets into kind of a tizzy with some of the people and leaves, and so Alex Trebek is offered the job, and he starts hosting in 1984.
Really?
And hosts for 36 years.
Isn't that amazing?
36 games, yeah.
Yeah, because he's synonymous with Jeopardy.
Yeah.
And
just like who's the guy on Wheel of Fortune? Pat.
Yeah,
Sajak. Yeah, Sajak. Yeah.
Think about that for a second.
Those two guys have been around forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't think Wheel of Fortune or Jeopardy without thinking Alex Trebek or Pat Sajak. That's. Can you spoil one thing for us? So according to one review I'm reading here, he dishes on his thoughts on the Saturday Night Live parody that Will Ferrell does a parody of him. And I guess in the book somewhere he mentions that he it says he gives his opinion of that impersonation. Do you remember?
I remember the idea, but I don't remember what he said about it. Yeah.
I'll have to read it.
How much would you guess he made from doing Jeopardy? A year.
A year?
Mm-hmm. What would you guess his salary was?
Man, I don't even know if I dare wager a guess, but I would assume he started low, and then at a certain point, they had to realize he was Jeopardy.
Yeah, exactly.
And that may have been reflected in his salary. So I wouldn't be surprised if he was wrapping up with somewhere close to, what a celebrity gets in the end. But starting point, close to $1 million even a year, something like that. But starting point, 1984.
Well, what at the end, though? What was you guessing it was making at the end?
$1 million, maybe?
10.
10, really, per episode or per year?
Yeah. No, per year.
Per year, okay.
Making about $75,000 an episode.
That because, he at that point, he was Jeopardy. He was a celebrity.
Yeah.
And they had to keep him.
It was interesting at the end.
Wow, $10 million a year to stand there and...
at the very end, he was taking chemo, so they made him a wig, and he'd come out and he'd do his job. He wasn't quite as good with the contestants when he'd do the interviews with them.
Yeah,
he wasn't quite as clever. But the amazing thing was he was on the show when he was on television, but between tapings, he was literally on the floor in his dressing room.
Really?
He was just
resting.
Yeah, it was. Not just resting, writhing in pain, actually.
Oh.
It's incredible that he continued on as long as he did.
That's, it amazed me when he said he was going to continue after he made the announcement, because I knew a bit about, what treatment for pancreatic cancer involves. And it's one of the most harsh.
Yeah.
And so I was surprised when he said he was going to hang on. The book, again, is Alex Trebek's The Answer Is, Reflections on My Life, published just a couple of months after his death in 2020. And this is the book review for the week, as you heard from Craig. He wouldn't actually recommend it. He said his personal life, there's nothing really that stands out that much, but it gives us an excuse to talk about Jeopardy as a social phenomenon, something that really is almost inexplicable when you consider this is a very simple game show.
And when we come back, you're going to be playing, right?
Yeah, and Craig's going to put me to the test. I'm going to be on my first ever experience as a contestant on Jeopardy, and I'm going to do poorly. I'm just warning listeners now. We'll be back with more of the For the People Book Club with Craig Petersen here in the studio right after this.
Not sure what to do for Thanksgiving dinner? Does the thought of that mess turn you off? Then call Beehive Pub and Grill. They have an amazing family-style Thanksgiving meal ready to go. Just order by Saturday, November 23rd by 5 p.m. Pick up on November 27th between noon and 6. Heat and serve. That's it. A full Thanksgiving meal with all the normal fix-ins without the hassle. Prices will vary. Order for 2 or get meals for 6. Call for details. Beehive Pub and Grill, Logan.
The USU Campus Store's annual holiday event is this Thursday, November 14th. The first 140 in-store customers to make a purchase will get a free Utah State sweater mug. All Aggie gear 25% off, including Nike Champion Hydro Flask and Cotopaxi, plus holiday gift items including apparel, blankets, and kitchen goods. Grab a hot chocolate, and all $100 purchases get a free collectible bear. USU Campus Store's 14th annual holiday event this Thursday in the Taggart Student Center or online at usucampusstore.com.
Weather changes are tough on your transmission. As we move to colder winter weather, AMCO Transmission invites you to bring your vehicle in for preventative maintenance before the snow flies. Have a diesel pickup, Cummins, Duramax, or Power Stroke? AMCO in Logan is your transmission specialist, and they promise to get you in quickly. For over 50 years, AMCO Total Car Care has been experts in repair for transmission, brakes, tune-ups, and more. Find your local AMCO. 75 East, 2000 North, 752-1940.
The Aggies return home to continue conference play Saturday afternoon as they host the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors.
All I care about is this kid's effort. It's been unbelievable. No one plays hard when you're 2-7, and these guys are freaking fighting to the end, so it's so fun to see.
Pre-game begins at 11. Kickoff is at 1, and post-game and Aggie Call immediately follows the game. It's the Aggies and the Rainbow Warriors. Saturday afternoon on News Talk KVNU, the Heritage Home for the Aggies.
You don't know how much I love you, but I love you.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People Book Club. Craig Petersen here in the studio with us, and we're talking Jeopardy. Again, starting things off with a brief review of Alex Trebek's memoir, The Answer Is, published just a couple of months after his death in 2020. But moving on from the memoir to a larger discussion here about Jeopardy itself. This is a game show that is, it almost feels like an understatement to say cultural phenomena. Everyone knows it. Even if you've never watched an episode, you know Alex Trebek, you know what he looks like. You'd probably recognize his voice had you heard it. And you know the format for the show. If you've even watched, loosely over the years, you probably even know some of the stories of big successes, big failures on the show. But I don't know if he holds a record, but 1984 to 2020, you said that was, so 36 years of hosting.
It'd be interesting to know how long Pat Sajak has been on.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Wheel of Fortune. We can find out. Next break, we'll find out, won't we?
I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is, and it's a fun show. It goes quickly. It's challenging to watch. So Craig's going to put me to the test a little bit throughout this hour. I'm nervous.
Let me set the stage with just a minute of Jeopardy history. So,
sure.
Merv Griffin had a show called the Merv Griffin Show, but he became a kind of a producer. And he and his wife were on an airplane one time, and they're thinking about, we need a new game show, because what had happened is in the 60s there had been some scandals with game shows being fixed. And so there hadn't been a successful game show for a while. So they're thinking, we need something different. And his wife actually came up with the idea. She said, instead of giving people the question and let them answer, let's give them the answer and the question. And the very first Jeopardy was on that airplane, and the answer was 5,280.
That was the first question ever.
What's the answer? What's the question? That's the answer.
So the answer is 5,280. I want to make a guess at volume of jet fuel or something like that.
How many feet are there in a mile?
How many? Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then the other one
was the first question.
That was the very first question.
How funny.
The second one was
and I failed already.
Second one was Sacramento. And the question is?
What is the capital of California?
Yeah.
That one I can get. I can do geography a bit.
So they took that back.
That's interesting. The first question was a mile.
Yeah. They took it back to NBC, and NBC actually bought the show without even a pilot. And again, it was on NBC for about 20 years, mostly off, but sometimes on. But then it went into syndication in 1984. So it's not been a network show. It's one that they market to individual TV stations. Now it's in its 41st season. And the one person who's been with it the whole time is a guy by the name of Johnny Gilbert. You recognize that name at all?
Yeah. Why? That sounds very familiar.
Johnny Gilbert has a really, really important role on Jeopardy. Basically, he says, here's Alex Trebek. He's the guy.
Oh, okay.
He's the guy that gets the whole thing started. He seems to do nothing else except just kind of introduce.
Funny.
Yeah.
and I've never known his name that I can remember.
He's been there the
funny.
whole time.
As long as
over that 41 years, there have been 9,000 episodes and over 500,000 clues.
That blows me away.
Yeah.
That is. Speaking of that, Pat Sajak actually has Trebek by just a few years. He started hosting Wheel of Fortune. Vanna White too. She started at the same time. They actually hold the record for episodes hosted. They started in 1981. So 3 years earlier.
And Vanna White may also hold a record for cosmetic surgery.
Yeah, I think she has to.
She's been there a long
She doesn't look any different.
Isn't that amazing?
She did in the 80s.
One other interesting thing I found this really fascinating. At the end of Jeopardy, when they do Final Jeopardy, there's a 30-second period when the contestants get to write down their answers. And during that time, there's the famous Jeopardy theme song. In fact, it's called Think. And it was actually
it has a name.
Yeah, it has a name.
I didn't know that.
And it was actually written by Merv Griffin. It was originally written as a lullaby for his baby daughter.
Oh, really?
But the thing that's amazing about
I didn't know that.
Is that every time that's played on those 9,000 episodes, or used in other ways, because it's used as kind of a countdown thing, Merv Griffin's, he's dead now, his estate gets royalty. What would you guess he's earned from that simple little 30-second ditty?
As a royalty for...
As a royalty.
Oh, that has to be in the hundreds of millions, I would
$70
think.
million.
$70 million
for a 30-second song.
That is, so every time that gets played,
there's a residual royalty.
A few nickels falling. That is amazing.
Those have got to be the most valuable words ever written. Because there's no words actually.
No,
notes
30 seconds.
30
originally,
seconds,
originally a lullaby. That is just funny.
Okay, enough stalling. Let's get you to the game.
Okay.
All right. So this little thing that I have on my computer actually just has 5 categories.
So now there's
6 categories on Jeopardy.
Okay.
Now this one just has 5. But anyway, here are your categories. Your categories are going to be movies, the Bible, the Philippines, music, and sports. And I'll just arbitrarily pick the level. That's not too important right now.
Okay.
What do you want?
Let's see. When's our news break? Oh, we got a couple minutes before the news break. Let's try a movies one. That's one I'm confident in. Watch me get this one totally wrong.
You're going to get this one. Who starred as the leading role in Catwoman?
Oh, I should know this.
African-American actress.
Leading role in Catwoman, and it was just recently. Not recently. Who is Halle Berry?
Yep.
Okay. That one made me nervous.
and you did it right, too. You asked it in a question format.
That is, that's one quick question, just to interrupt the game here a bit, and then we'll go to the news and continue. But has anyone gotten in trouble for that over the years?
In the original round Jeopardy, if you make a mistake, they'll let you do it.
Really?
If you don't ask us a question in double Jeopardy, then your answer's wrong.
It's just automatically you lost that.
You don't get a redo on that. Okay,
that is interesting because that's part of playing the game. Yep. Is that challenge of it, you not only have to have the right answer, but you have to remember to ask
it as
the
question format.
The question that is. We're playing Jeopardy here. It's the For the People Book Club, and again, the book review this week is from Craig. The answer is Reflections on My Life by Alex Trebek, who passed away in 2020. His memoir published just a few months before that. And now we're talking Jeopardy in general. This is a cultural phenomenon. Everyone knows it. It's fun and kind of scary. As a contestant here for just a couple of minutes for the first time in my life, it's intimidating too. But we'll keep it going. I hope you stick with us. More of the book club with Craig Petersen here in the studio after the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News is brought to you by Roof Rescue. The Utah Division of Wildlife Resources is concerned about wildlife as the state is going through population growth and urban sprawl, increased renewable energy projects, and other ongoing multi-use activities occurring on public lands. To help make wildlife a bigger priority in the planning of new developments and other land projects, DWR has developed a user-friendly new tool. The Wildlife Habitat Analysis Tool will provide research and other authoritative information about Utah's wildlife and plant species. DWR hopes developers will take into consideration the information the new tool will provide concerning geographic analysis and improved wildlife planning efforts and environmental reviews in the decision-making process for various development and other land projects in Utah. The tool also provides mitigation recommendations and important site and landscape context for areas considered for alternative designations and development. Charges against the owner of a Weber County towing company say he lied about the chains he used to secure the bulldozer he was hauling, which ultimately fell off the trailer and killed 2 people in July. On July 6th, Michael Love was driving up Ogden Canyon, that is, eastbound, in a flatbed tow truck with a 32,000-pound bulldozer. As the road curved right, the bulldozer slid off the left side of the truck and landed on a passing westbound vehicle. This claimed the lives of Richard Hendrickson and his daughter Sally. Hendrickson was the president and CEO of Utah-based company Lifetime Products. Other family members in the SUV were also injured. Months later, Love was charged with 2 second-degree felony counts of manslaughter, 1 count of aggravated assault with serious injury, and 2 counts of obstruction of justice. The 51-year-old Love is the owner of Love's Towing, based in Marriott Slaterville. According to charging documents, Love did not properly secure the bulldozer to the flatbed truck and then later lied about it to police. KBNU weather brought to you by Dr. Keith Nelson, board-certified orthopedic surgeon experienced in successful surgeries for sports medicine and arthritis. For arthritis, Dr. Nelson offers the Omnibotic knee replacement system that has a 97% patient satisfaction rate. Go to drkeithnelsonortho.com. Looking at partly cloudy skies tonight and overnight, temperatures going down to 22 overnight, and then mostly sunny on Wednesday, mid-40s around 46, mostly sunny Thursday, and into the lower 50s for the high. Get more news at cachevalleydaily.com.
ABC News, I'm Richard Cantu. The Federal Aviation Administration is banning flights into and out of Haiti.
A day after a Spirit Airlines plane landing in Haiti was hit by multiple rounds of gunfire, the bullets piercing the fuselage of the plane and hitting the overhead luggage compartments. Now the FAA is banning U.S. civil aviation operations in Port-au-Prince. A notice to Air Mission, or NOTAM, says a ban will last at least 30 days. That Spirit Airlines plane diverted to the Dominican Republic after it was hit by gunfire. JetBlue also found one of its planes had been hit by a bullet.
ABC's Alex Stone. President-elect continues building out his team. He's nominating Pete Hegseth as defense secretary. Hegseth, an Army combat veteran and Fox News personality. Earlier, the president-elect nominated John Ratcliffe to be director of national intelligence. Ratcliffe filled that role in the waning months of the first Trump presidency. Ukraine says Russia has launched its counteroffensive in the Kursk region of Russia. This is ABC News.
Roof Rescue is your local roof specialist, dedicated to keeping your home safe and dry no matter the weather. Their team of experienced roofers is here to serve you, providing top quality service at affordable prices. From minor repairs to complete roof replacements, they've got you covered. Remember, your roof is your first line of defense in protecting your family from the elements. So don't wait until the next storm to discover your roof problems. Call Roof Rescue today at 435-999-4268. They're your trusted local roofing experts, here to keep your home safe and dry. Roof Rescue, celebrating 10 years of providing watertight peace of mind.
Utah State University's Sorensen Center for Clinical Excellence provides exceptional mental health services to residents throughout the state of Utah. Sign up now for a free single-session consultation for a brief mental health check-in, or explore our various mental health service lines to receive ongoing specialized therapy services. Clinicians are licensed professionals or pre-professionals overseen by faculty experts. Visit cehs.usu.edu/SCCE for more information. That's cehs.usu.edu/SCCE.
This is Dr. Rebecca Freeman from the Northern Utah Eye Center. Join us November 22nd for an open house to discover the latest advances in eye care technology. Learn about our cutting-edge cataract surgery with multifocal lenses and the newest technology of light-adjustable lenses. See if you're a candidate for life-changing refractive surgery with EVO implantable Collamer lenses or LASIK. Come check out our advanced treatments for dry eye, like LipiFlow and OptiLight. Whether you are seeking solutions or just curious about your options, this event is for you. Friday, November 22nd from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at the Northern Utah Eye Center. Visit northernutaheyecenter.com.
Do you know a champion in our community? Nominate them for the KVNU Above and Beyond Salute. Every Friday morning at 8:30, we'll spotlight a firefighter, law enforcement officer, healthcare worker, or other deserving individual and give them a $40 gift card to Firehouse Subs. Submit your nominations for the Above and Beyond Salute by visiting kvnutalk.com. Help us recognize the champions in our communities. The Above and Beyond Salute, sponsored by Firehouse Subs on News Talk KVNU, the voice of Northern Utah.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People Book Club with Craig Petersen here in the studio. We're talking and playing Jeopardy. Again, the book this week was Alex Trebek's The Answer Is, Reflections on My Life, published just a few months before his death in 2020. And now we're just kind of appreciating Jeopardy as a cultural phenomenon, as a show that everyone, even if you've never watched an episode, you know it. And then I had this as well because we mentioned it a little bit, but even someone who doesn't like the show knows this.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that. It is permeated every aspect of society. And as Craig told us before the break there, this was originally written as a nursery tune by Merv Griffin for his daughter, and it became the Jeopardy theme, and Merv got royalties for that for years.
If you think about it, it's actually kind of irritating.
Yeah, it really is. If you think about it, you couldn't listen to this for very long. And I also didn't know it went on from that first 30 seconds. But
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, it's actually 2 minutes and 7 seconds long. But it sounds like it just repeats in different formats and more instruments coming in.
Okay, Jason, I think you're trying to avoid questions.
Yeah, I'm stalling.
No. We're going to get back to
those first two questions scared me.
Okay, so we got movies, Bible, Philippines, music, and sports. What do you want?
It definitely put sports last. But let's try a Philippines. That'll be a challenge.
That's venturesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just want to see how poorly I do.
If you get this one, I'm going to be impressed. What's the color of the 1,000 peso bill?
Oh,
Wait a minute, that's
the color. I don't know how to describe this, whether I use orange or amber. I'm going to say, what is amber? Am I even close? I've seen one of these, but I can't remember if it's the 1,000.
Blue.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you know what I
Face plant.
Do you know what I just noticed?
We need a buzzer that.
You know what I just noticed on this thing is it's not a Jeopardy format. It gives you the question and then the answer. So
it's.
But I can do that because I can do it kind of in reverse. You know, one thing that a lot of people don't know is originally when they did Jeopardy, they would start to read the clue and the person could buzz in at any time.
Really?
But they changed that a bunch of years ago, and now you never see this, but on the board there's some lights. And the question has to be completely read, and you can't buzz in. It won't recognize you're buzzing in until the light goes on.
Oh, really?
So that gives, people who can anticipate, yeah.
That makes sense because that's showing appreciation for the television audience, the people watching.
Right, exactly.
Because otherwise they're not going to hear the rest of the answer.
Okay, let's talk. More questions.
More
answers. What do you want now?
Let's see. We tried movies and Philippines.
Yeah.
How about music?
Music.
We'll try
okay.
music.
All right. Let's see. Just a minute here. I have to get this right. Number one hit was "Hello Goodbye" in the '60s.
Hello Goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking of the song. Who were the Beatles?
Right, you got it. Okay.
That one felt kind of easy, but that's and this is I've been putting this category off because I feel like most of the questions are going to be easy here too, but watch me be wrong. Let's do the Bible.
The Bible. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll give you the easy Bible question to start.
Yeah, I don't want to know what the higher level Bible questions are. I don't my memorization skills are not great.
Okay, the answer is Lot.
Now that's difficult.
These aren't as good as I thought they were going to be.
Because I'm not sure which. I know who that is. I know the story.
Yeah.
But who is married to Lot's wife?
It involves his wife, actually.
Oh, so it's a question about. I don't even know how to word that one.
Yeah,
It's a question. What is the answer? I'm curious.
Whose wife was turned into a pillar of salt? But like I said,
okay.
I just realized they've got this mixed up.
That would have made sense, though, as a question. Whose wife was, okay. I should have thought of that. That's interesting.
What it should have been, the way this should have been done is his wife was turned into a pillar of salt, and then the answer would have been, question would have been, who is Lot? Yeah, okay.
That would have made sense.
Yeah, they kind of messed that up. Okay.
That's interesting.
A couple more, and then we'll go on.
Let's see. What's the other category we haven't tried yet?
We've got sports, and we've got. We've done the others, I guess.
Okay, let's try sports.
Yeah, we're gonna go for the hardest one of sports.
Yeah, this is one that.
Let's see.
And what should be one I surprisingly know. That's what I always thought would be weird about Jeopardy, is you might have a upper, the difficult level question about a topic you don't think you know anything about, but it just happens to be a question or an answer that you learned recently in a magazine article.
The logo is swoosh.
Oh, I can actually do it. Now, is it what is or who is in this case?
Actually, they're kind of lenient on that.
Are they?
Even though it's not grammatically correct, they'll take either one.
They'll take either one.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
so what is Nike?
Yeah,
then?
you got it. Okay. All right. One more.
All right.
And we'll go on.
How about just back to movies where we started?
Okay, we'll do the hard
Although
one on
that's the one I
movies.
struggled with the most.
Let's see here.
I thought it'd be my easiest category.
Let's see. The answer is Rapunzel. Oh, these aren't right.
The answer is Rapunzel. There's a lot of different ways I could
I know. And
phrase that as
I
a
didn't realize that
question.
these aren't written right.
Who had really long hair?
Yeah. The answer is going to be the movie.
Oh, okay. What is Disney's third biggest hit? Something like that.
Yeah, Tangled.
That's what it was called. I couldn't remember the name. I knew it was Disney. I knew it wasn't Rapunzel.
I should have looked at this more carefully before I brought it.
That's still interesting, though, because even just that little taste of it, it shows you how it doesn't seem like it would be challenging to throw in that curveball of having to phrase your answer as a question, but it stops you from being able to just blurt out correct answers. You have to sort of think for a second. And now I'm wondering if contestants practice just that, responding with a question for weeks before competing.
Oh, they do. They do, without a doubt. In fact,
That's
they
interesting.
Even I think Ken Jennings said he actually practiced with a pen for the buzzer. You know, they'll practice on reacting with the buzzer.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's not just knowing the answer. You got to know it before the other two contestants. Yeah. So
and you've got to phrase it right.
Yeah.
And
so speed becomes an issue.
Now, how many episodes was Ken Jennings on? Do you know?
I don't know exactly, but he started in about 21, 22.
That's the most successful contestant, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking of the host. I do know. 74.
74 episodes.
74, yeah. I'll come to that in just a minute.
Okay.
So,
okay. Sorry.
Let's talk about what happened after Alex Trebek died. What they did is they really delayed, excuse me, in naming a new host. In fact, what they did is they had like a dozen guest hosts. They had Katie Couric, they had Anderson Cooper, they had Dr. Oz, they had Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, really?
In fact,
I didn't know that.
I saw a thing where it rated the contestants, and Aaron Rodgers was actually rated as the third best host for some reason. You wouldn't expect that from
That's funny.
from a Green Bay Packer at the time quarterback. But they ended up, after going through all of those, they ended up coming down to two. One was Ken Jennings, and the other was Mayim Blalock, who was the girlfriend of Sheldon on The Big Bang Theory.
Oh, okay.
And they were set up to be co-hosts, and they co-hosted for a while. And then there was a writer's strike, and Blalock decided that she would honor the writer's strike, and so she wouldn't continue with the episodes. I think that was kind of a way out because, frankly, I thought she was terrible.
Yeah, I remember some of the public reaction to her.
She was not very popular.
Was not positive.
And so Ken Jennings took over and became the full-time host and has done that for a couple of years. What's kind of interesting about this is how this whole show is taped. The way they do it is it airs.
I've always wondered.
Airs 5 days a week, okay?
Yeah.
And for, I don't know, maybe 30 weeks out of the year, new episodes. But they actually they tape 5 30-minute episodes each day, and they do that on 2 consecutive days every other week.
Really?
So you come in on a Monday.
Wow.
You come in on a Monday and Tuesday. You tape 5 episodes each day, and then the next week you're off, and then you come back and on a Monday and Tuesday you tape 5 other episodes. One of the things that means is when contestants come, they're told that they have to have 5 different changes of clothes.
Oh,
because there's like 30 minutes between each episode.
Yeah. Wow, that would be a challenge. You have to look like it's a different day.
Yeah.
In each episode.
The other thing that happens is the episode that you see on television isn't always the episode that's exactly taped.
Really?
Because, for example, sometimes there'll be maybe delays that are too long, so they'll cut time because they have a certain amount of time they have to fit this into. And so if the response time is too slow, they may shorten it a little bit like that. If there's something that goes wrong, in fact, there might be something where there's something embarrassing or something like that, they'll just retape it.
Really?
So what you see is a final product, a perfect final product, but it may not be the original final product.
So there is a bit of editing that maybe sometimes happens.
Yeah. The other thing that happens
makes sense.
sometimes is periodically they'll come back after a break and they'll say, the judges said that something was wrong. The contestant didn't answer correctly, and so they'll deduct score. Sometimes they'll say, we'll accept that response, and so that they'll add to the score. But there are, I don't know how many judges there are, but there are 3-4 judges.
I've always wondered about that. Are the judges, I assume the judges are actually physically there while they're taping the episode?
I would think so. It turns out they have 7 researchers and they have 7 writers. I would think that maybe the judges are the writers and the researchers because they're the ones that develop the questions.
That would make sense.
We talked about this between the break. I'm absolutely convinced that at least one of the researchers, one of the writers, is a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints because the number of questions that are associated with the church is far higher than you'd expect random. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, they had a whole category on Mormonism or something like that, and they were people who are Mormons and something about them.
Yeah. I've seen episodes where there are, and that the writing aspect of that fascinates me because I think that might be the most challenging part of hosting wouldn't be easy, especially as you just laid out the filming schedule.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the 10th episode on day 2 of you're going to be a little grumpy, maybe you're going to a little, and Alex Trebek never showed that, but writing has to be fresh. And obviously you get some leeway to repeat yourself because it's, 30
over 40 years.
40 years of no one's going to remember. Oh, they asked that one in 1987. But still keeping it unique. And then they try to come up with not always funny, but at least creative category titles. And that would actually be challenging.
Yeah.
I think it might be easier to write like a 30-minute sitcom of just dialogue than to sit down and write categories for Jeopardy and the answers. But I'm curious if you learned in your research, did they have any I've always wondered if they came up with a category or an answer where they just thought, that's unfair. That's too difficult. That's almost like trying to, because one thing I like about Jeopardy, they don't try to trick the contestants. There's no gimmicks to making it hard. It's just as hard as it is.
Alex Trebek, before every taping, would come in and go over the questions.
Really?
And there'd be times when he'd reject questions. You've got 7 writers and 7 researchers. I'm guessing what happens is people come up with their questions and answers, and then as a group, they sit down and say, well, this is too hard, or this is too easy, or this is ambiguous.
Yeah.
So I think that process probably occurs with the writers and the researchers.
That is, because I do remember, it was a long time ago, I was young, but there was an episode where, and this stuck in my head, where I felt like the answer was phrased as a question correctly, and it was technically correct, but they didn't give the contestant that answer. But I kind of felt it was the fault of the answer they provided, not the error on part of the contestants. And I remember there was a to-do over that. The contestant objected, and they left some of that in the episode where they actually, one of the judges spoke up and explained why it was incorrect. And I just thought, wow, this is like a college class. They are taking this very seriously. This is fascinating.
So Jason, let's assume that you want to be a Jeopardy contestant, okay? So
yeah, how does one go about it?
Here's the process. There is a 50-question test that is, you can take it online, or they have it at certain regional centers. In fact, they have a Winnebago truck that goes to different parts of the country.
Really?
Where they do this. So you take the test, and if you can get 35 out of 50 questions back, then you may be asked to come for an in-person audition, an interview.
Really?
They give you a second test. They interview you, because they want to make sure they're people that somehow will be okay on television.
Yeah, because they want this to be an exciting competition.
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
They don't want one person up there just getting hammered for 20 minutes.
Yeah. And there's huge diversity. In fact, one of the Jeopardy all-time champions is a woman who's trans. Her name is Amy Schneider.
Yeah.
And so there's a huge diversity.
Reading that.
Yeah. But anyway, so if you're selected, they'll say you've been selected, but then they won't tell you when, but you get a call and you'll have to be there in a couple of days.
Really?
What a lot of people don't realize, if you're, I think it's filmed in California, but if you're on Jeopardy and you're selected, you got to pay your way there.
Yeah,
you got to pay your hotel. Yeah. Well, if you're a champion, then they'll pay for you to stay. And the contestants are sworn to secrecy, because typically what happens is an episode will be taped on a date and it may not air for another 3 weeks, another 4 weeks.
Really?
In fact, a number of Alex Trebek's episodes were aired well after his death.
That is, I do remember reading that as well, that there was a question at the network on, and they checked with the family.
Yeah, as to whether we should do this.
Yeah, and said, "Are you okay with this?" And because they were willing to scrap those episodes, but the family said, "No, go ahead. He'd want you to." I remember reading that article.
I think the way the secrecy thing works is that if the winner gets the amount of money that they earn, the second and third place get $2,000 and $3,000 respectively. I'm guessing the secrecy thing is that you don't get paid until after the episode airs, and so if you violate the secrecy agreement, then you don't get any money.
You don't get any money.
So there's a financial penalty if you don't do it.
That is. Now I wonder if I'm gonna have to look this up. I wonder if anyone has ever decided the money wasn't worth it, and they. One more break to get to here. We're talking Jeopardy. This is fun. It's the For the People Book Club, and the book this week was Alex Trebek's memoir, The Answer Is, Reflections on My Life, published just a few months after he passed away in 2020, and talking Jeopardy at large, cultural phenomenon, why that is, the history and trivia of Jeopardy, and more. And we'll keep it going. Another few minutes left in the show today. Stick around. More of the For the People Book Club with Craig Petersen right after this.
Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
Join Adams Wealth Advisors on November 14th at 12:30 for a Market Outlook event, diving into the recent election results and their impact on the economy. Understanding and being prepared for what may happen due to political changes is a critical part of your financial plan. Discover how these political changes could shape financial markets as we head into 2025. Register now by calling 752-1702. 752-1702, November 14th, 12:30. Don't miss this opportunity to stay informed with Adams Wealth Advisors.
Clean it up and get it out before the snow flies. Don't wait another winter. Let DD Auto and Salvage pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it so easy and fast to get rid of your junker vehicles by paying you the most money possible. Pickup is available. If you have metal, DD Auto and Salvage in Logan wants to pay you today. Call 787-1204. That's 787-1204 today. See store for details.
To the For the People Book Club with Craig Petersen here in the studio. We are talking all things Jeopardy. One last time, the book again, starting this conversation today, is The Answer Is, Reflections on My Life by Alex Trebek, published shortly after his death in 2020. And with no further ado, we've got some more Jeopardy trivia and fun things to talk about in the last 5 minutes here, but we can do it.
If not, we'll go over the next hour.
Yeah, we'll just... Dave Ramsey will understand. We're talking Jeopardy, Dave.
Dave is always the same.
Yeah, he knows. He's like, oh, Jeopardy, go ahead.
So Jeopardy keeps 4 records. They keep records on number of games won, regular season earnings, single game earnings, and highest all-time earnings. And the difference is between regular season and highest all time is they have a bunch of tournaments where they bring people back who've been tournaments of champions. And so
that's right.
In terms of games won, it's kind of interesting. Ken Jennings, the current host, holds the all-time record, and he won 74 consecutive games. So he was on there for about 4 months.
Wow.
What's really amazing about that, though, is the number 2 person is Amy Schneider, and she won 40. So he won almost twice as many consecutive games as any other contestant. Really? Yeah.
That is now the winnings can be significant.
Yeah, it's how his during his time he earned $2.5 million, but he came back on a number of other tournaments. Like I said, the Tournament of Champions, and finally they held one they called the Greatest of All Time. So they picked their top 4 people and brought them back. The prize was $1 million. And he won that. So he's officially the greatest of all time. But what I find really interesting. So Jennings all-time has won $4.4 million. But here's the one that I think is really, really interesting. There was a contestant. His name is James Holzhauer. He won 32 games, and so he's up there, but not way up there. He worked in a casino in Las Vegas, and he was kind of an arrogant guy. But he was a risk taker, as you might expect. And so what had happened... Sure. Is when it had come to Final Jeopardy, he'd bet everything, but won 32 games. But so he holds the record for the single games winnings. But what's incredible about it, the highest single game winnings, a single episode of Jeopardy, is $131,000.
Really?
I have in front of me a list of the top 10 single game winnings, and he holds all 10 of them.
Really?
There are 6 times when they've gone over.
Mind-blowing.
So the number 10 one is $89,000, but all 10 of the top ones are him. And the reason was because when it come to Double Jeopardy, there was this kind of hand gesture. Bet it all, let's do it all. When it come, so
and that's how you get way ahead.
That's how you get way ahead.
Right.
It's amazing that he won 32 games doing that, because it was an all or nothing. I mean, if he missed the final Jeopardy, then he was out. He wasn't going to make it.
That was the end of it. And
isn't that incredible, though?
That is. So do you think, in all years of watching and your research here for this episode today and on Ken Jennings and all of this, is there, obviously you can't be educated enough to be a good Jeopardy player, because who knows what the topics will be. Obviously, the more educated you are, the better, because you've got a wider breadth of topics you could, answer correctly. But I've always wondered if there's just a certain mindset that makes you a good Jeopardy player.
I think it's people who have photographic memories.
Is that
people who can read something and retain
and never
it.
forget it?
Yeah.
I would fail.
They can just me too. But they can just store stuff in their minds.
That is fascinating.
In a few minutes, I just have to talk just a second about Ken Jennings.
Sure.
We spent some time in Greece the last few days, and one of the fellows that was with us was Ken Jennings' seminary teacher. Ken Jennings is a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And he actually grew up in Singapore and South Korea. His father was an attorney.
That's fascinating.
And my son-in-law served an LDS mission in Spain, and Ken Jennings was his trainer.
That is, how funny.
So he's a BYU grad.
That is literally small world.
Yeah, it really is small world, yeah.
Craig, this has been a fun episode of the Book Club. We should maybe make Jeopardy an annual thing here on the Book Club somehow. We'll find an excuse to do that. Thank you for coming in. Always a pleasure to have you. And to our listeners, a pleasure to have you listening as well. Stick around. Dave Ramsey is next here on KVNU Logan.
With pregame beginning 1 hour before tip-off and postgame interviews and Aggie call after the game.